Thanks, Tim. Thanks very much for inviting us to chat, and thanks very much for everybody for listening in. I'll keep the overview quite light so that we can get to some questions if there's some questions, but I'll give you a bit of an overview of what BetMakers do. So essentially we sit in between the racing authorities and the bookmakers. So we provide services for racing authorities. That's things from integrity platforms. We look after their official price. We do their data distribution and collation from track to track. We grab their data, enhance that, and then we deliver that to bookmakers domestically here in Australia and internationally as well. And we do look after racing authorities, again, domestically and internationally back into the Australian market, and from the Australian market here into international waters. For bookmakers, we look after the life cycle for the racing products for them. And the life cycle can include, as soon as the meeting opens up, a few days out, the fields, the form, we enhance that data for them and deliver content or enhanced content, such as runner overviews, race overviews, runner comments, and then we look after the race day controls. So as the day kicks off, whether there's scratchings, when the race jumps, if there's any change to track conditions and all that sort of stuff that a bookmaker needs to frame a market. From there, we provide a pricing solution for them. We give a full overview from the market analysis and allow the bookmakers, we'll give them a system that allows them to automate their pricing across the race day. We're doing about 5,000 to 6,000 races per week. So as you can imagine, those things need to be automated, and BetMakers provides that solution for our clients. We've enhanced that to what we call now managed trading services, which is essentially racing in a box. And we grab all of those services that we provide to our clients, we package it up, and then provide a trading solution on top of that. So essentially, we're the piece that sits in between a racing authority and the wagering operator. So we just move to the next slide. These are the customers. If you have a look here from a racing body, you can see there's most of the racing bodies here in Australia and a whole bunch of international operations as well. All up, that, as I mentioned, there's about 5,000 or 6,000 races per week that we look after. And then from the wagering operators, you'll see our clients there are the who's who of wagering around the world. All the bookmakers here in Australia, and a whole bunch of the tier 1 operators internationally as well. So I'll just move down onto the next slide. So we've been providing these services now for 5 or 6 years for the operators, and essentially as we build up the products that you'd seen above there, we have essentially been a software as a service type model. So as a client would take a piece of our technology, we charge them a monthly fee and get paid as a SaaS. We've worked really hard over the last couple of years as we've seen a shift in the market to try and convert this to a more variable, which essentially then provide a whole range of services and a package solution for both the racing bodies and the bookmakers. So there's 2 ways that we convert this into a variable model. From a racing body perspective, we partner up with the racing body, package up their data, put it into a normalized solution, and then deliver that to our network of customers. For that, they charge the bookmakers a percentage of turnover for betting on their product, and we rev share that with the racing body. As I mentioned, with our managed trading services, it's only launched recently in the last couple of months, and we've had some really good success with that. We've got 4 or 5 bookmakers in the market here in Australia. We've seen this real shift of consolidation at the top end of the market with the major operators joining forces and being bought out. And it's created this opportunity for a bunch of on-course bookmakers here in Australia that's allowed them to bring their business online, and they've partnered up with BetMakers to bring that online into a really cost-effective way of shifting from on-course to online. And we've been able to give them a service where we partner up with them. And again, it's a variable component, and we're seeing some really good results with that from a variable model. you'll see there on the right with our graph, you can see our FY19 and FY20. There's some really good growth, but it's accentuated in the final quarter of the year, and in particular the last couple of months there. We'll give you a June annualized run rate, and that's passed on into the first month of 2021. So we're getting some really good results in terms of our modelling and changing that from a SaaS model to a variable model, and we'll continue to see that growth into 2021. So we'll just move on to the next slide. So where to from here? FY21, we've announced a number of deals in the US. It's a really interesting market, the US. They've just recently, in the last couple of years, announced sports betting that's come legalized in the US. And with that has been a whole range of operators coming into that market. The horse racing market over there is very similar to Australia about 10 years ago. Predominantly parimutuel. Operators then came into the market here in Australia and started betting on fixed odds, and it created this new wave. We've seen a huge growth here in Australia, where we've more than doubled in the last 10 years in terms of the turnover. We expect that to happen as well in the US, and BetMakers is on the ground over there. We've announced a couple of really exciting deals with New Jersey, which is the first state that legalized sports betting, and we're excited about that market. So scaling up for growth, as I mentioned, we've just put a couple of products in the market. Our managed trading services solution, which is essentially racing in a box, that allows operators, not only here in Australia, but internationally as well, who don't have a racing product or an online product, can basically pick up our product and start betting on horse racing. And so that's a really exciting opportunity for us. The other products, we've got a number of other products that we've put into the market as well, and we expect to scale up organically on the back of that. So just the strategic opportunities, BetMakers very well funded. We've got about $30 million plus in the bank. We're looking at opportunities both organically and inorganically. And so, as I mentioned, the organic growth is around building up these products that we've got and expanding them into international markets. But we're also in the market having a bit of a look to see if there's any M&As that we can do as well. So we've had a nice successful capital raise recently to put our balance sheet in a really good spot, and we're excited about the future. So I'll probably wrap up there, Tim, if there's any questions.
I've got some questions for you, Todd. Just in regards to, let's start here with this kind of points bet deal with NBC Universal. The stock kind of doubled on the news. Now, given Bet is the platform provider for PointsBet in New Jersey for fixed odds horse racing, what will this alliance have any flow-on effect for BetMakers?
Yeah, we've got a strong relationship with PointsBet. We look after their racing product here in Australia. PointsBet have seen a really good, not only PointsBet, but most operators here in this Australian market have seen some really good growth and really good sustainability, given the current circumstances with the COVID. Racing has stood up throughout that period, and the bookmakers are getting some really good results out of the Australian market. So when you go into the US, as PointsBet have, they would see racing as a significant part of what they're trying to do over there. And so we've announced that we're, again, partnering up with them into that US market. So the more successful PointsBet are, then obviously the more successful BetMakers is as well. So without sort of, we're not tied to PointsBet altogether. We operate, as you can see it, with a number of operators around the world, and most of those operators, the tier one guys, are the guys going into that US market as well. And so we'll be working with those guys in the US market. So exciting deal for PointsBet, really exciting. And I think one of the better deals that we've seen announced over in that US market. And we're excited to be part of that journey with them.
And the obvious attraction for you guys seems to be this kind of white labelled opportunity for the racetracks or the betting outlets to kind of migrate online. How are you positioned in relation to your competitors, you know, the William Hills and Flutter and those sort of groups?
Look, the solution that BetMakers does, it's really lightweight. And just to give you an example, Rob Waterhouse, who recently launched using our solution, got into the market within a couple of months. He had I think he had 4 staff when he launched and took his first bet. In comparison, recently, there's been other bookmakers that have built their own technology and built their own systems, and they've had to invest a lot of money before they could take their first bet. So, you know, I think Ned's, when they first launched, they had about 100 staff before they actually took their first bet. And so, you know, being able to give a solution where you can get up and running really quickly, low cost, and partnerships, and that's sort of what we can provide, and we're excited about it.
And just the profitability on the kind of fixed composition relative to the kind of variable market, betting market?
Yeah, we work really hard to get ourselves to a cost base where the company was profitable based off our recurring revenue, our SaaS revenue. And so for us now, the upside is in the variable. And you'll see there a real shift in our focus to the variable side of things. You know, comparing the two, you know, it's chalk and cheese in terms of, you know, the percentage of what we get out of a variable model. We get a lot more out of that than we do out of the fixed fee.
Right, okay. And the US horse racing industry probably isn't as sophisticated as it is in Australia, you know, kind of low field sizes, poor returns to owners. I'm just reading through a question here. We've seen in Australia that race fields payments to the racing industry has delivered significant new revenue. Is that part of what could play out in the States? I mean, is the real opportunity here for this kind of US horse betting market?
Oh, without doubt. I think, you know, the horse market over there really needs to get their head around that and realise that the opportunity for them is on the back of this sports betting that is coming. And you see that, like, I think horse racing can be a significant part of the sports books over there. And to be fair, I think it's probably going to be the biggest bet on sport across all of the wagering. And the reason we sort of come up with that assumption is if you look at the NFL, there's 200 games per year that you can bet on. With horse racing, there's about 260,000. So it's not a matter of saying, well, we're going to take more bets on every single race than the NFL, but it's just a sheer matter of there's just so much content.
And it's not a sophisticated market in terms of legalising sports betting. Can you give us a little bit more of an outline of kind of, I think New Jersey's waiting to be approved and you've got other states to play out soon?
Yeah, it's interesting. Betting on horse racing online has been around for 20 years. And so they bet online across about 35 states over there, which is legal. That's done through parimutuel. And so we're gone in there introducing fixed odds. Again, it's like Australia 10 years ago. So where we were 10, 12 years ago was, you know, 100% were parimutuel around Australia. It was dominated by Tabcorp. And we had some sports bookmakers that came in here like Sportsbet and William Hill, Sporting Bet. And so those guys came in and really changed the game for the wagering industry here. And it also changed the game for the racetracks. We're seeing this massive growth of, you know, from about $10 billion in turnover here in Australia is now at about 30 billion in turnover. So we've seen some huge growth, and we can't see that being any different in the US market.